Hi everybody, we're going to be making a gnome sculpture out of Model Magic and paper. Here's my example that I made, and I used an old cone that I had that yarn came on, and of course I couldn't throw the cone away, and I've had it for years, so you can see there's the inside of it. However, I have a limited supply of them, so I had to think, what else could I use? Because the kids really enjoyed making these and they all turned out really special. So I thought, why not use some thin construction paper that you get all sorts of stuff in and you throw it away. So what I started at is I made a circle out of my mozzarella stick box. And the smaller your circle, obviously, the smaller the gnome's going to be. My circle was about the size of a stool lid, and I cut it to the middle, and then I twisted it until it was the right circumference at the bottom. And, it took me a second to do this. You got to train the cardboard to go around, and then I just secured it with a little bit of tape so that it wasn't going to go anywhere. And there is my cone. And it's a nice use of recycling that lightweight cardboard, and the kids can totally do this. So now that I have my cone made, and you can see it looks pretty much like my cone that I used from my yarn, now I'm ready to apply some Model Magic. So for the Model Magic, for the size that I did, which was about 9 to 10 inches tall, I used 3 little containers of Model Magic. To get the Model Magic to make sure that it stuck, I applied a little bit of Mod Podge to the armature to begin with. And, do you have to do that? I'm not really sure. I just didn't want to take a chance on it. You could probably use Elmer's glue as well. So to make the base covering of it, I used 2 containers of Model Magic. Got them primed up by squishing them in my hand real good, and then just pinching. I didn't even put them on my table. I have sticking problems when I put it on stuff usually. So just squishing it in my hands, spreading it out as much as I could, getting it to be kind of a long triangular shape. Once I got it kind of a triangular shape, then I just applied it to my armature and just started squishing it around my armature and pulling off pieces. You don't want a lot on the top because it will break. I find that Model Magic is a good use of as a skin material. So you have your armature out of cardboard or aluminum foil, whatever, and then you apply the Model Magic on top of it, and I feel like it works really, really well. For years, I've always done 3-dimensional projects with clay, and because of COVID, I decided, you know what, clay is just not working for me right now, so I switched to Model Magic, and I have really enjoyed it. As long as you can construct the armature and then put a thin layer of Model Magic on, it's awesome, and it's quicker than clay. So now I'm just rolling it around, kind of flattening out my fingerprints and continuing to squish it around the form. Now this piece that I have in front of me right here that is not covered yet, I'm not really worried about it because I'm going to put another piece on top of it that's going to become the beard. So, I'm just getting the main part of it covered up, and it's a pretty light coat of Model Magic. Now, after I get it to the point where I feel like, it's going pretty good, but I just need it to be a little bit smoother, I will put a little bit of water on it just to kind of rub it out and smooth it out, and that helps too, but you got to be careful not to really get a lot of water. Just a little bit does a nice job. So now we're coming back to day 2. It's good to let that base layer dry for a day just to harden up a little bit, although it's still malleable. You can still move it around a little bit. So I'm going to open up another bag and I'm going to apply the beard, the nose, and the rim of the hat. So I'm going to take my bag of Model Magic. I'm going to take a little piece for the nose, set it aside, split the rest of it in half. Half of it's going to be made into a coil. The other half I'm just going to smush flat for the beard area and apply some texture with whatever I have around, which in this case was a paintbrush handle. So here I am just smushing the Model Magic onto the inside of the bag, which is a good smushing place. And then I'm just pressing it on to where I wanted the beard to be. Then I'm going to take my toothbrush handle and just kind of push in some textures of where the beard would be. Now, if you had time, you could roll out little bitty coils, but I think this is really sturdy and it does the job. Now I'm going to apply the rim of the hat, so it's just going to go all the way around, and then I'm going to blend it onto the hat, and I am going to use a little bit of water just to move it a little bit, but what my goal is to get it so that the coil blends into the hat as seamlessly as possible, and it's not going to be perfect, but the paint will cover it up. So I'm going to be smoothing out the hat a little bit and just refining it with a little bit of water on my hands, not a whole lot. I'll put on the nose and just smush that on till I'm happy with that. And then for paint, I have used a watercolor with Model Magic. It's okay. And then I prefer the craft paint or acrylic paint, the little bottles or the big bottles. I think it covers better. But you don't want to move the sculpture once you've painted it or it will crack a little. For the detail, I used paint pens, or you could use like a permanent marker. And there you go, cute little gnomes.